So it's been 2 years since I left my full-time job to freelancing full-time, and I never thought I would reach to this point because there were so many moments where I really wanted to give up and throw in the towel and be like, you know what, let's just go back to a 9 to 5. Or maybe let's just be a barista and figure something out. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those options, there's nothing wrong with it. But I just knew that deep down, I could make this work if I put in 110% effort into it. And I really had to be honest with myself because there were so many times where I wasn't putting in as much effort and I was expecting, glorious results, which does not make sense. You get what you put in. So if you're listening to this episode and you're maybe in the thick of freelancing, or you're pursuing freelancing, or you're thinking of doing it, or maybe you are stuck in your 9 to 5 job that you hate and you really want to, pursue something different, maybe work in a different company, or you want to start a business or do freelancing, I really hope that this episode can help you in one way or another. Or if not, I hope that it can resonate with you and hopefully make you feel less alone, because I know that, whatever you're feeling right now, you're not the only one that's feeling it. There's other people that have been through it or are in the same situation with you as well. So welcome to a new episode of A Thriving You, where it is your cozy space for all things mindset shifts, self-growth, and stories that can hopefully level up your life. So if you don't know me, my name is Aisha, and today I'm going to talk about my freelancing journey and, the highs, the lows, and things that I wish I knew before taking the leap. Just to give you like a brief context of my journey, I left my full-time job at the end of 2022. So I was working in a creative agency doing social media management. I was working in that company for like 6 to 7 years, and there were times where I felt like I wanted to do something else, where I wanted to challenge myself even more, but I just ignored that feeling. And this is something that I really would love to point out, and something that I've learned is that if there is this nagging feeling or that nagging voice at the back of your head telling you to do something because deep down you know that you want to do it but you're scared, I want you to do it. I want you to not only do it, I want you to first acknowledge it and really be honest with yourself. I had to be honest with myself because I knew that I wanted to leave my job, but I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know, how to do it. And it was really tough for me because I am a recovering people pleaser and I do not like confrontation. To be fair, I really liked the company that I was working at. I love the people there, but it was really hard for me to, stand up for myself and be like, you know what, I actually want to do something else, and that's okay. And that's something that I really had to come to terms with, because it is not easy to walk away, because obviously you also have to look at the circumstances that you're at right now. And maybe there's a fear of judgment, there's a fear of failure, there's a fear of even success, which I know sounds weird, but it is actually a thing. So if there is this nagging voice in your head that's telling you that, okay, you know what, you should really pursue this because you've been putting it off for so long, I want you to really ask yourself and be honest with yourself and really sit down and think about, okay, how can I actually make this happen? And for me, I've been putting it off for so long because I've been wanting to do something on my own for such a long time, but I did not know how to do it, when to do it. But I knew that in order for me to pursue it, I had to cut some things off. And that includes, leaving my job. And I know this sounds like such a privileged way to say that, oh, just leave your job, it's fine. And the thing is, like, I did it in a way where if people from the outside were looking into my situation, they would probably think you're fucking crazy because you have no financial security and you have no backup plan and you're just leaving just like that. And I know that sounds insane when I think about it now, because I literally had no plan B. But deep down, I just knew that I will not only survive, but I would also thrive in this situation later on. But I just don't know when, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I also do think that it depends on your personality, on how you react to uncertainty in life. For me, I'm a certified overthinker, so it's kind of crazy to think that I wasn't panicking at the point of time. But I realized that when you want to do something, take it one step at a time. So if you want to leave your job, okay, let's do that first. and then we'll figure out the rest. Maybe some people are over planners, they want to plan their plan B first before, quitting their job, which is completely fine, because do what works for you. But at the end of the day, do not ignore your intuition. I want you to listen to it and trust it. And that's what I did. And the thing is, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I am not a confrontational person. I do not like confrontations at all. So for me to, trust my intuition and take the leap to actually leave the job was really hard. And if you're in that situation, I feel you, because I understand that it is not easy. Again, it's easier said than done, but sometimes doing the toughest things can be so worth it. So I encourage you to really listen to your intuition and really be honest with yourself. So after leaving the job, I pretty much started 2023 on a blank slate. I did not know what I wanted to do, and it was actually really exciting to me that, I actually have endless options. Like, I can do so many things right now. And it felt like a weight was being lifted off my chest when I left the job, because that means I can literally do whatever the fuck I want. And that also means that I have no one to blame. And that's something that I've learned as well, because when you work with a company, or you work in a company, you tend to, blame people or situations for the things that are happening in your life. When you work in a company, you can always blame, your colleagues. You can blame your boss. You can blame every single situation that's happening at your job but yourself. Now that I have, left my job and, I'm essentially on my own, who else is there to blame but myself? So that means I also have to take radical responsibility of pursuing the things that I really wanted to do. If I said that I left my job in order to pursue the things that I wanted to do on my own, I should honor that. I should respect myself enough to actually do the things that I said that I was going to do. Only that I did not know what I wanted to do, right? So I dabbled in different things, from content creation to UGC, and I had no idea that freelancing was even a thing, which is kind of ironic considering the fact that I was working in an agency and we were working with contractors or freelancers, but I had no idea that freelancing was a thing. So anyway, fast forward, I put myself out there. I put myself on freelancing websites, and, eventually I got connected to a few people. And funny enough, even though I was working in social media management, for like 6 to 7 years, I've never gotten an opportunity from my previous experiences. Meaning, I never got help or anything from, the people that I've worked with before. And it actually taught me a lot about myself, because I'm an introvert. I don't really speak out that much. And especially back then when I was in, meetings, I would just keep quiet, even though I had opinions or ideas to voice out. I think this stems a lot from, my upbringing and, the things in my childhood. And I was just afraid to, voice out my opinions. And I always keep things to myself. And I think when you don't speak, sometimes people automatically assume that you are dumb. And, it's not a nice feeling, So when I realized that I've gotten opportunities and clients not from my previous work experiences, it's made me realize that I never really fully learned how to nurture relationships with clients before. And that itself has helped me to learn how to nourish my own set of clients right now. So because I didn't do that when I was working in an agency, I am currently doing it now when I'm, basically pursuing it on my own. So when I did land my own set of clients, I realized that now that I am, working, by myself, I actually have to do everything on my own. And that's something that I had to learn as well, that not only am I the person that would do this creative services, doing content creation, UGC, I also had to find clients. So that's sales, right? I also had to liaise with them and, keep them satisfied. So that's also account management. And then I also have to, strategize certain content ideas with them. That's like being a strategist or a consultant. And I have to execute the services, the creative services. And that's another set of role for me to do. So when you are freelancing, you are essentially doing everything on your own. And the thing that I realized about freelancing is that because I was doing everything on my own, It is way easier to work when you're in a company because after you log off, quote unquote, from your, working hours, like let's say after 5, 6 p.m., you're like, okay, I'm done with work. You don't think about work. But when you're freelancing, because it's your own thing, you start to think about, okay, what should I do for this client? How do I secure another client? Oh, I need to send an invoice to this person. Like you are literally one person doing a 10-person job. And that's something that I definitely have learned about freelancing. And I've taken account that because you are doing everything on your own, you need to have a solid system in order to be efficient and also perform well and provide a good service for your clients. Because I've been through many clients and there's good experiences, there's bad experiences. You're bound to have those things where your client doesn't pay you, your client doesn't like your deliverables, the way that you deliver the job to them, and you're not going to have like the best working relationship. But I guess that is just part of the whole experience. And the more that you do it, the more you learn how to set boundaries. And that's another thing about freelancing, is that I've learned to set boundaries. And again, as a recovering people pleaser, it can be really daunting and kind of hard to set boundaries, especially when it is your first time working with them and you really want to impress them and you feel like you want to say yes to everything. You have to learn how to set your boundaries. If after 6 p.m. is your non-working hours, then don't respond to clients after 6 p.m. If they keep doing that, then you have to stand up for yourself and be firm that, hey, you know what? Here are my working hours. I don't, speak from this timing to that timing. You're also setting a boundary not just for your clients, but also for yourself as well. Because if you don't set boundaries in freelancing, you're gonna burn the fuck out, which that happened to me in after 6 months of freelancing, and it was not nice. It was not a fun thing to do. And at the end of it, I dropped a couple of projects because I knew that it was taking a toll on me and I did not have the right systems. And because you feel like you want to say yes to everything, you also tend to accept projects that are out of your scope, or like they're not even related to your skills. For me at the point of time, it was also doing email marketing, which is not my thing. I've never done it before. I've never touched Klaviyo or like MailChimp or whatever. So I I said yes to things that I knew that I wasn't really capable of doing. But I think my client was kind enough to be like, hey, you know what? It's fine. Let's figure this out together. The thing that also helped me is that when I don't know something, I will tell them that I don't know. I'm not the type that would be like, oh yes, I know how it works. Let me do it. Like, no, don't do that. The thing is, people appreciate it when you're honest. When I've made a mistake, I own up to it and I apologize. And then we move on because we're adults. Or, if I don't know something, I'll tell them, I don't know, but let me figure it out, because we have the internet and Google that will help you out. So I will be honest, but also I would figure out a solution for the client as well. You'd be surprised to find out that people actually appreciate it when you're honest, and especially when you own up to your mistakes, or when you don't know things and you actually say that you don't know. Like, people actually appreciate that, because nobody wants to work with someone who says that they know everything, but then when you engage them, they actually don't know how to do shit. And that's one thing that I've learned from freelancing, is that people appreciate when people are being transparent and honest with each other. Now, obviously, I've listed out a couple of lessons that I've learned from freelancing. And, obviously there's the good and the bad. Like, the good things about freelancing is that you get time freedom, location freedom, and also financial freedom. And financial freedom is really subjective to different people, because, different people have different definitions of financial freedom. For me, what financial freedom looks like is that if, let's say, if I spilled water on my laptop, touch wood, hopefully I don't do that, then I have to spend like $2,000 on it for repair, or maybe I have to buy a completely new laptop. I have that money to actually buy it, and then after purchasing it, I still have money left in my bank account and I do not have to worry about my finances. To me, that is financial freedom for now, because I know it will change. My definition of financial freedom back then was that I want to be able to walk into a supermarket and get whatever I want without worrying about the price, because I've been through situations or experiences where I'm looking at two same things, let's say a bottle of ketchup. That's okay, which is so random, but that's the first thing that comes up. Let's say I want to buy a bottle of ketchup, okay? There are two options. And to me, at the point of time, financial freedom was not being able to worry about the price tag, because it could be two bottles of ketchup, but they have different prices, and I would go for the one that is like 50 cents cheaper. Like, I never want to go through that ever again. And that was my definition of a financial freedom, where I don't have to look at a price tag and be like, okay, let's just get the one that is $1 cheaper or 50 cents cheaper. And I'm not talking about, oh, I'm buying a luxurious handbag. Let's see which one is the cheaper one. Let's get the cheaper one. I'm talking about like basic necessities as a human being, of like, I don't have to contemplate and be like, you know what, let me just get the cheaper one because I get to save 50 cents. Like, no, I don't want that. So that for me was my definition of financial freedom back then, versus now my definition of financial freedom is that I can afford to pay any emergencies, whether it is healthcare or like, I don't know, something bad happens and I still have, a cushion of savings to fall back on, like my bank account isn't suffering. So yeah, I know that it got a little bit off tangent, but I do have to say that when you are starting out freelancing, if you're doing something on your own, like you are building out your business, whether you're freelancing, you have to expect your self-limiting beliefs to come up, because I know that we all have our self-limiting beliefs, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. But if you are starting freelancing or starting your own business, just know that it will come up. Like, as much as you tend to sweep it under the rug, it will definitely come up. And it will be really uncomfortable, and it's something that you have no choice but to face it. And if you don't, it is just going to hinder your progress to whatever it is that you are pursuing. And for me, a lot of my self-limiting beliefs, since we're talking about finances, financial freedom, I have a lot of like money mindset limiting beliefs that I have to work on. And I also have to work on not feeling capable or worthy enough, because I've always felt like all my life that I did not know how to do certain things. I was not capable of doing hard things, or not even hard things, like I thought I wasn't even capable of surviving a Zoom call for like 30 minutes, which is really lame if you think about it. But I had issues with it, and I really had to overcome it. I would say the way that I overcome things, hard things, is to expose myself. I call this exposure therapy. I remember talking about this with my sister. It's that the more you don't like doing something about it, the more you have to do it. So if you don't like to speak to people, you don't like to socialize, the more you have to actually go out and socialize with people and talk to them, because the more you do it, the more you put in the reps, the more comfortable you become in the situations, and you don't hate it. Essentially, like, you get better at it eventually because you keep on doing it. And also, like, one of the advantages of freelancing is you get to see your own personal growth, because you are one person. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how you deal with different people, how you deal with different situations, and you stack up different set of skills that will help you in the long run. And the thing is, as you go through these experiences, you will come to realize that you are actually a really capable human being. And I like to say this a lot, and it is true. The more hard things that you do, the more confident you will become in executing different situations. And that's just how it is. When you realize that you can overcome a difficult challenge and you actually do it and you get through it, you'll become more confident in decision making. You will become more confident in voicing out your opinions and your thoughts. Honestly, just embrace the hard times, because it's not gonna last long. We all have to realize that everything is temporary. Even if you're having good moments, like you are winning in life, that's just temporary. So you have to learn how to keep up with the momentum and continue with it. If you are currently freelancing right now, or you're at the point in your life where you're going through this really hard phase, just know that it's temporary and it is not permanent, and you will get through this. And of course, freelancing does come with a set of challenges. I mean, you will face like inconsistent income. And this is so funny because I recently saw a reel of this girl. She was saying, like, you think living from paycheck to paycheck is a bad thing? Think about living from invoice to invoice. And that triggered me, okay? And I laughed, but it triggered me because in my first year of freelancing, I've had experiences with certain clients where they would delay the invoice from 1 month to like up to 3 months. And this is when it is so useful to add like a late payment fee in your contract, which is super essential. So I have been in situations where I'm literally just waiting for the client to pay the invoice in order for me to pay my bills. And it is not a nice feeling. So you will definitely encounter this kind of clients. If you don't, honestly, I'm like really envious of you. But you know, I guess it's all part of the experience, right? And I'm glad that I actually went through the experiences and know what to do next time when things like this do happen. And I think that when you do face clients that, you know, give you like a late payment or they just don't want to pay you, yes, there are people like that. You will learn how to combat those situations. And that is why learning how to handle your finances when you're freelancing is really important, because I think people have this belief or like this thing where, you know, oh, because you're freelancing, let's say you have one client that pays you $3,000. After they pay you, that $3,000 isn't all yours because you have to set aside for your expenses, for your taxes, for like different things. So it's not like 100% of it is yours. So that's something to take note of, because if you think that the whole $3,000 is yours, you're going to face a couple of, you know, I won't say problems, maybe like a set of challenges. So you really have to learn how to manage your finances, which is something that I really have to learn because it's not something that I'm honestly good at. The challenge is like you have inconsistent income, that's for sure. So that's why you need to learn how to manage your finances and save up some of it so that you actually have a cushion of financial security if, let's say, your client is delaying your payment. And another thing, it's also, again, like I said, like having boundaries with your clients. That's also another challenge. There are some clients who they don't look at you as freelancers. They automatically treat you like they are your employee, and that's something that you also have to, you know, put a boundary to it, because you're not their employee. You are essentially a contractor. You're working with each other. You're not working under that person. And also self-discipline is a huge thing in freelancing, because if you lack self-discipline, it is going to be really tough. And trust me, I've been there, okay? And there are times where I feel like, oh, I don't want to do this at all. Or like, I just don't want to do anything for today. But you know that you have deadlines to go through. So you have to really build up your own set of routine or system that you know that you will deliver the job as you promised and still get to live your life. And lastly, when you are freelancing, one thing that you do have to take account is that you might feel lonely. Because first of all, you're not working in a company. There is no such thing as having colleagues. And that is why I stress so much the importance of finding your own tribe, finding your own people. And one of it is, you know, joining a community, whether it is in real life, like going to events, which honestly, I'm not a fan of like networking events. I don't know why the word networking events just makes me like, ugh, like cringe. Not cringy, like I feel like I want to bath, because when I think about networking events, I always think people in suits and acting pretentious, when I know it's not. Thankfully, there are online communities that you can join. So for me, because I am, you know, doing social media management in freelancing, I joined a paid membership where it's all social media managers in the online community, and we share, you know, our skills, we share our experiences. And yeah, I think it's a good thing to join a community that can relate to what you're doing so that you feel less alone. Because trust me, sometimes you can only go so far when you are alone. You need someone to bounce off ideas. You need someone to talk to, essentially. And ChatGPT does not count, okay? Stop it. Sometimes it's just better when you talk to a human being, and it is a bonus, especially if they are going through the same thing as you are, or maybe they've been through it and they are, you know, quote unquote, even more successful than you. So it's a good thing that you get to learn more from them. So to wrap up this episode, I really want to reflect back on my 2 years of freelancing so far. And to be honest, I am so freaking grateful that I took the leap, because I get to travel, I get to spend time with the people that I love, I get to buy presents for people's birthdays and not worry about whether I have enough money to put food on the table or pay bills. Like, it is actually so fun to realize that you don't have a cap on your income. You get to set how much you earn, you get to set, how much you want to work. And it's honestly a beautiful thing, because the one thing that I do really crave for myself is that I have the freedom to do whatever I want and live the life that I want. And that is something that I wish for everyone. And I know that sometimes it can be hard that, you are kept into this box of like, oh, okay, if I need to get to a certain point, I have to do this. But honestly, there's always a way to do the things that you've always wanted to do. You just have to really plan out and find out how to do it. And it is possible. Like, nothing is impossible. If me, a recovering people pleaser who is so scared of standing up for myself, can do it, literally anyone can do it. I live a life right now that I am genuinely so grateful of, that I never thought that I would reach at this point. And I'm pretty sure that my goals will change, the things that I want in life will change. But ultimately, I think, the freedom of being able to live your life the way that you want and having control is the best thing ever. And that's something that freelancing has definitely done for my life and for myself. There were so many times that I wanted to quit, like especially at the beginning of this year. It was really tough for me because I felt like there were no clients, like there were no high ticket clients that would want to work with me, that are aligned with me. But it's not impossible, and that's something that I'm so glad that I did not give up on myself, and I'm really proud of myself for sticking it through and seeing how it goes. And because of freelancing, I have a steady set of income for the next year, and that's actually a really cool thing, because I never thought that I would reach to that point. And because of that, I'm able to also focus on pursuing other projects, creative projects in my life, that I won't have to worry about money-wise, So that being said, if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe. And if you're listening to this episode on Spotify, I would be so grateful if you could leave a positive rating, so that hopefully this video will reach out to people that might benefit from it. And if you know anyone who is going through something like this or have been through it, and maybe they might resonate with this episode, and hopefully that it could help them, I would really appreciate it if you could share it with them as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.